Hello, this is Jim in Rock Springs, Wyoming, and welcome back to my shop. I'd like to say thank you to all those of you who have subscribed and liked my videos, and I encourage you, if you like my videos, to subscribe. That way YouTube will automatically update you when I put out a new video. I don't have a regular time frame for that. I just kind of put them out as ideas come or situations in our turning club, questions from other turners come up. And by the way, while I'm on that, if you have an idea for a topic that you would like to see covered in a video, maybe I can do that. Leave a comment, like the video, subscribe, share, do all of those things. And I really do want to thank those who have already subscribed, left comments and feedback. It's really helpful to us to know that and to hear that from you. That way we can improve our videos. And again, I want to thank my granddaughter for doing the camera work for me. One of these days I'll get her on this side of the lens and introduce you to her. But she's a great help doing this. Today I'm going to start a turning series. I think it's going to probably be 3 parts. Today we're going to go back to a topic I've kind of covered, but I want to do it in a little different aspect. Today we're going to talk about turning bottle stoppers, but the series is going to be entitled Between Centers. And in that series I'm going to talk about typical spindle turning. I'm going to talk about going from square to round. I'm going to talk about different lay speed for different types of stock, different tools or uses and different things like that over this series. But today we want to start with a bottle stopper. It's going to be an acrylic stopper, and it's going to look something. It will not be the same color, but sort of like this one. This is a red or a crimson acrylic, and this is a Ruth Niles. By the way, I really like her stoppers. They're stainless steel, food grade, and guaranteed for a lifetime. So I'm going to talk a little bit more before we actually get into the turning of the acrylic, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about her Mandrel. I really like it. You can get it in a kit, you can buy it by itself and different things like that. So I'm going to get Trinity to kind of zoom in down toward the chuck, and we'll talk about Ruth's Mandrel. First of all, when you get one of Ruth's Mandrels, you'll have an option to get one that will eliminate the need for the tap as an extra addition. Now this particular one is a Morris taper number 2, and it's also set up for a drawbar to be able to come through your headstock and to adjust it and hold it in your headstock. And I highly recommend that if you're going to use this straight into your spindle. However, on this particular one, you have the option, and I really like this option, of just mounting it in a standard set of standard chuck jaws. This is a record power scroll jaws. It's the SC4, and it'll just go right in. I kind of just let it go up and touch the chuck jaws, and then just tighten the chuck jaws on it. Now what I like best about this is this lets me chuck my blank into the chuck itself, bring my tailstock up, drill my blank, and then on the back of the blank, what I like to do is, while it's still mounted in the chuck and it's still square, I've drilled the hole. Now that hole that I've drilled is centered, so I like to then kind of face this off, smooth this up. It doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, this is going to mount against the top of the stainless steel stopper, but this lets me kind of concave this surface a little bit. I like to concave them. It makes them fit a little nicer around the edge. Then I can take it straight out of and then mount the Mandrel in the chuck. Now a couple things I do want to share with you about that. If you get the kit, you'll get a couple different size drill bits. Use the smaller bit on softer woods and the larger bit on the harder woods and the acrylics. When you get ready to put these on, you're going to notice the one thing you have to do often is you'll start the blank on. And as you start it on, you'll need to take, and what I do is just hold the lathe handle on the opposite side of the spindle, and I work it back and forth. After I've done that and got about 3 threads started, you'll have to clean out this little groove. If you don't, the swarf, the shavings, and everything gets kind of in there and it gets stuck. The next thing I like to do is take just some paraffin wax and I just kind of rub a little bit on the threads. And I do this whether it's wood or whether it's acrylic. Now I'm going to thread this back on, and you'll need to clean it and put some of that on several times. Once I've done that, then I'm ready to put my stopper blank back on. Now I've already taken this one from square to round. And here's another hint. Sometimes it's hard to get these stoppers off. So if you'll use a piece of this slip knot or cabinet liner, whatever they want to call it, you can get it at Walmart or any of your other stores. You can hold this really nice with this, and especially after you have finished it. Now, when you're working with acrylics, you're going to want to sand your acrylics. I sand mine up through 2000 grit, and I wet sand them all the way through that process. Once I get them sanded through 2000, I be sure all the tool marks and everything's out. I then go to 2 automotive products to finishing out the bottle stopper blanks. I use the kit and it's called Scratch Out. You'll see this in your automotive stores, or the Meguiar's Plast-X. Now these work great on pen blanks or anything that you're really turning out of acrylic. They're fast, they're easy, they're safe. They really do a great job. As a matter of fact, this one I turned, and this is sanded to 2000 grit, and then finished with first the yellow one, the Scratch Out, and then the Meguiar's Plast-X. So let's go ahead and by the way, I guess in a way of reviewing this by Ruth Niles, is it's an excellent product. Very well machined, very well made, spins and runs true. It is a great mandrel. It may be more expensive than maybe using a bolt and a block of wood or those kind of things, but what I like is I can do everything on the lathe. I can drill it, turn around, tap it, put my blank on, and I'm ready to start turning. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and do a little bit of turning on this blank and see what we get. When I'm turning acrylic, I typically just use a 3/8 spindle gouge or a 3/8 detail spindle gouge, and I try to set my tool rest height at just a little bit so that my tool will present just a little above center. Now I like to remind you to not neglect to notice the taper or the grind on your tool. You see, if I slide this up as close as I can get it to that blank, if you'll notice, I'm in danger of my tool now sliding off of my tool rest. So be sure you allow for that to get your tool rest back enough. Now lathe turning speed for the acrylics, I've been known to turn a little too fast maybe, but I like to turn acrylics at about 2,500 to 3,000 RPMs. Now I want to warn you, wear safety glasses and some ventilation. The odors off of acrylic really are not pleasant. My granddaughter says it smells like a nail salon. So I want to remind you to take care of yourself. Wear safety protection, eye protection, breathing apparatus, whatever you may need to do to be safe. So let's turn a little acrylic and see what we start to look like. Again, I'm going to be turning at about 2,500 RPM, somewhere along there. Again, when you're turning acrylic, I suggest you really need to have some sharp tools. Now, a lot of people don't like to turn acrylic for the very things you're going to see going on in just a minute, and that is, you're going to see this acrylic will start coming off in really fuzzy shavings, and that's going to take some of your visibility away. You're going to have trouble seeing what you're doing. So just stop. Just back off, stop, and remove these little wispy shavings and and just get them out of the way. And again, when you're turning acrylic, just take your time. The one thing you really want to avoid is pressing too hard on the material itself. It's not, and watch your bevel support by the way, it's not going to really respond well if you get it too hot by putting too much pressure on it or trying to take too big a cut. So we'll just kind of take our time and go through this. And again, with this acrylic, good sharp tools, take your time. I keep saying that, I think, in every one of my videos, to take your time when you're working and turning, and enjoy the turning. You'll notice these little thin shavings will start stacking up and getting in there. And I would encourage you to be careful when you go to remove those. Sometimes I turn the lathe off, sometimes I don't. But it kind of depends on how they get built up in there. I'm going to kind of experiment a little bit with maybe doing something to keep it from catching and kind of building up. You have to take that off so you can kind of see when you're getting down to the size you want to be at. So we want to just kind of get back in here. Again, I'm about 2,500 RPMs. I want to get our bevel support, bevel contact, and kind of just go down through here and get this cleaned up and kind of start figuring out what shape we're going to be in. Again, I like to, on a bottle stopper, I like it to be very functional. I like it to look good, but I like them to have some place to get the bottle stopper and hold on to it. And so function is also, I think functions, for me, most of the turning I do isn't just for ornamental purposes, but it's also needs to have a little bit of a function to it and usability. I guess my dad rubbed off on me, and he used to say, son, if we don't use it, we don't need it. So maybe that's what I need to do there. So, that little bird's nest reminds me of an open face fishing reel. Switching over to a 3/8 detail spindle gouge instead of just the standard spindle gouge. We're going to bring our lathe speed up to about 2,800 RPMs now and see if we get a little better, smoother cut. And I encourage you to try different lathe speeds, but I really encourage you to turn at the speed you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable at higher speeds, then that is good. If you're not comfortable at higher speeds, then I encourage you to slow it down. Also, sometimes you'll actually get a better cut at a lower lathe speed than at a high speed. Just kind of depends on the material that you're turning. So don't be afraid to go up or down. Now what I just did was slowed the lathe speed down. Sometimes the composition of acrylic is different depending on where you get it, and sometimes it'll respond better at a lower lathe speed, and this one seems to be liking about 2,000 RPMs better. So so we're going to be turning that at about 1,900 to 2,000, since it seems to be responding better to that. We're going to kind of keep this simple. We're not going to really get into a complicated design with this one. What I'm going to do is put a little cove in here. For that, I'm going to go back to a little, one of my favorite tools, a little 5/8 spindle roughing gouge. This is a Doug Thompson tool. You'll notice that I think about 90% of my tools now are from Doug. I've had really good luck with Doug's tools. Doug's a heck of a nice guy. I like Doug and I like his tools, and you know, it's something about people who, now again, I encourage you as you're turning and learning to learn to turn with both hands. It's really handy to be able to switch over and turn with your left hand or your right hand. You got those nice little shavings coming off that acrylic, kind of stringy and kind of messy, and so you know, be careful with this stuff. You know, don't let it get you tangled up and brought into the middle of it. So we'll probably maybe fast forward to a little bit of this. Looks like we're going to have to stop about right there and take out some of this stuff, but it's just nice long shavings, and like I said, I'm going to figure out if there's just got to be some way, and if you know a way and would share that with me, I would share it on a video, or if you know a video where it shows a way to do this differently so that you don't have to stop and do all that. Now I think we'll just kind of roll this into that, kind of going for a larger size and style of stopper here. Just like I said, we're just going to kind of go in a hurry, and may edit some of this out because it's repetitive, but or just fast forward and speed it up so that you don't have to see all of the mundane things of maybe you already know. But you know, sometimes I watch a lot of videos myself, and sometimes it's kind of mesmerizing to get in and just start watching somebody turning. Now, what I would encourage you to do, since we don't have to worry about the grain on the acrylic, you know, the old rules of cutting downhill all the time and things like that, you know, since this isn't a natural product and really doesn't have a grain, I would encourage you to continue to follow those practices though. It's a good practice and a good way to stay in practice. Kind of getting this rough down there. Boy, it looks rough in that picture. She's getting in there on that. So we'll may go to a skew chisel here in a minute. We'll see. Again, one of the problems with the acrylics is it really these stringy little pieces, while they're very flimsy and not at all dangerous, they do cause a visibility problem. I've turned a good bit of acrylic and I've never had any trouble with it wrapping around a tool or anything like that and causing a problem. So I don't necessarily worry about that happening. But again, be safe, and if you don't feel safe doing it, here's the rule for that is, if you don't feel safe doing it, don't do it. Listen to that little voice that says, I'm just not safe with that. What somebody else does and finds safe may not be safe for you. Don't get in over your head. Again, take your time. Especially with bottle stoppers, if you've got a mandrel and a chuck, I really want to encourage you to keep in mind where your knuckles, fingers, and hands are at in relation to where that chuck face is at. I'm going to raise the tool rest just a little bit. And go into a half-inch skew here to kind of clean this up just a little bit. Again, with a skew, you want to work on the lower part of that cutting edge. You don't want to get up on that top part, or you'll get into a lot of catches, and you'll find it to be tearing up your surfaces. Most of the time, I've had quite a few catches with a skew chisel. Most of the time they're more unnerving than they are dangerous. So, but again, I like to get my tool rest height up a little bit high for the skew. I like to kind of be working more or less on top of the project more than toward the bottom. This is kind of turned into a strange shape. I'm kind of liking it though. It's, I'm going to let her swing around. I want to show you something that I encourage you to do. It's quick, easy, and inexpensive. You can go on Amazon and get these rare earth magnets. Piece of plywood, a rare earth magnet, and you can snap this right on your lathe bed. And if you're like me, you kind of keep your turning tools out while you're turning. And I just set them there on that little shelf. Oh boy, I need to bring that down a little. This is making some really nice light purple shavings. The other thing is, all acrylic isn't created equal. Some acrylics are harder than others. So, you know, you're going to have to experiment with. You know, I may be telling you today that I'm turning at 2,000 RPMs and this acrylic is liking it. The red stopper that I showed you just a minute ago, I actually turned that stopper at about 3,000 RPMs, and it liked that speed better. This one seems to be liking a little lower speed. Now I'm going to go around on the end, and she may have to do a little camera moving to get you a view of that, because cutting across the end of acrylic, I think we're getting in pretty good shape. We'll a little tool mark there I won't get out. Just find the bevel, and especially with acrylic, I find that nice light cuts with a sharp tool leave a pretty good finish. Which that one's looking pretty good. Looks like this is black, gold, silver, a little red, a little orange, some green I see in there, I think. So now we're going to move our tail rest, our tool rest around to where when I present this tool, I'm going to need to come across and end up in the center. So I want to get this tool rest, and that's very important, especially working on this acrylic. Now then, we're going to bring our speed back up. We're going to gently present this, and we'll get the bevel rubbing. We're going to take some light cuts. Now I'm going to turn the tool up just a few degrees, and now I'm going to roll the tool. I'm going to keep the bevel rubbing. I'm lifting the handle of the tool gently, and I'm just slowly coming across toward the center. Again, now I'm going to find my bevel. Notice the tool's just about 90 degrees, just a little out of center. I'm getting a little bit of chatter, which is kind of to be expected. We'll lower the tool rest just a little. Looking pretty good. With acrylic, again, I'm going to just kind of catch that bevel. I'm going to come across really, really slow. It's going to look like little cowboy loops, little lassos. I'm going to come out here and make a little acrylic flower, if you will, as I kind of come on in there. Remember, your wood, your acrylic, your whatever it is, when you get to cut this center, is going about 1/3 of the speed of the rest of your spindle. The outside is, depending on the diameter, and you can figure that math if you want to. The rule I have for turning is I don't worry about all the formulas. Those formulas, you know, I don't have time for those, and most turners don't. Small is kind of like the old drill bit rule. The smaller the bit, the faster you turn it. The smaller the item, the faster you turn it. So now that's got us a pretty good surface. We're ready to do a little wet sanding. It looks like I'll probably start out, and I'm just going to do part of this and finish it up so that you can kind of see the process. I don't think you need to see the whole thing. We're going to start in here with some 320 grit. We're going to sand this at about 600-700 RPMs. We're going to spritz it with a little water. Wet your sandpaper first and let your sandpaper get wet. Don't just stick it right on there. Wet your sandpaper, and once you do that, you're ready to start working the sandpaper a little bit. Try to get this little light over here. This is a little homemade light I made. It's a little Amazon light that was about $15. So what I'm going to do, and you know, for this, I think some of the better papers are, if you go by an automotive paint store, you can get, you know, of course they specialize in papers for the auto body industry, of course, and they have a really good selection of wet, dry sandpapers. I actually prefer the red papers, and you know, that's just me. You can tell me the one you prefer. I'd like to hear that, as a matter of fact, and tell me why you prefer it. That would be something good to hear from. Also, when you get ready to use the polish, we're just going to do this in so you can kind of get an idea. I encourage you, between grits, to wipe that swarf off with a paper towel. We're going to switch up now with 320. We're going to get our paper wet. You'll find it'll just work a lot better. We're going to go to 400 grit. Keep a good amount of water on there. It keeps the acrylic cool. It also washes away that swarf and keeps your sandpaper working more efficiently. Don't try to sand this stuff at really, really high speeds just because of the heat factor and making a mess with the water everywhere all over the shop. I've got a little 1221 on the other side of this 1642, and have to keep the bed covered up, and because it kind of gets all the other stuff, and then when I'm working on it I have to clean the bed up, and so I've just got it covered up. And then when I'm working with it, I have to switch over to and clean up and cover up the 1642. Now I'm going to step up to, I don't have a piece of 600. Typically I'd go to 600 grit, but this is a piece of Rio wet. I make knives too, and I do a lot of traditional woodworking and use traditional hand tools, and I use a lot of this Rio wet sandpaper. Get it from Midwest Knife Maker Supply. It's absolutely some of the best paper I've ever used in abrasives. It's not cheap, it's not inexpensive, but when I'm doing some wet sanding, especially when I'm polishing out steel, this sandpaper just really is durable. It lasts. It just stays with it. It doesn't clog like the others, and you'll notice that that's a real problem when you get into the finer grits of paper. Now then, we're going to some 2000 grit. Get our paper wet again. I'm really going through this fast, and as you can tell, I'm just doing the end of this because really what I want to get you down to is some people may not know about wet sanding. They may have never tried wet sanding on the lathe, and I want to get us down to where we can try a little bit of these two automotive finishes on this. I hope she can get a good shot of this in a minute to see what it looks like after 2000 grit. And oh, when you're sanding and you're wet sanding, you can kind of get an idea of when you're getting there, because you can actually see where it's wet, what finish you're down to. You'll probably be able to see the lights are reflecting. You can start seeing the lights, the definition of the lights, not just the reflection of them. If you look in here, you can actually see that little LED light started showing up. So that's telling me I'm getting in really good shape there. Think she can show you what we kind of look like there. It's you can see it's not too bad. You can see some sanding swirls in it. We're going to start out with the kit scratch out. This does work good on your cars too, by the way. Get it good, shake it up good. I am using a cloth, but I want to use it open-handed. I keep reminding people you can use them, but you need to be safe. Be sure there's no loose strings that are flying around and causing problems. Now on this, I'm going to put it on at about 1,100 RPMs, and not 1,200, and I'm just going to rub it. And you're seeing this in real time, so I hope this was going to be an encouragement to you. I know sometimes we get down to finishing our turnings, and we get, sometimes we're a little apprehensive that, you know, now we've done all this work and we've spent all this time. And when you put your next polish on, find you a clean spot on your cloth. And again, I'm turning about 900 to 1,000 RPMs. Get it on. You'll notice it's kind of going off over there on that little 1221. Poor little fella, he gets, but you know, it's his turn when I'm using him to get a little payback in there, I guess. Now I'm putting kind of a medium pressure, maybe 3 or 4 pounds. Again, when you're doing this, you really, now I'm going to take just and wipe that off. I'm going to let you have a look at that. I think you'll notice it's quite a bit improved from the sanding. You'll notice all of those sanding marks are gone. Got a really nice shine. And this is a very durable. Of course, with the acrylic, you're pretty good there. Now we're going to go to the Meguiar's Plastex, and we're just going to use a little bit of it. And again, we're going to be about 6, 7, 800, somewhere along there. And you'll notice it's going to be a little lighter. It's not as aggressive as the kit scratch remover. So this will make an even better shine. And again, since you've already got where you are with the scratch remover, this one isn't going to take a lot of time. So now we'll get this to where we can kind of put it in the light. And again, I didn't do the whole thing. I just did sort of this end of it, and see if she can zoom in and have a look at that. Looks like I wiped it on the rag on a dirty spot, but you can see down here, of course, where I didn't do anything, but you can see maybe here where the turning tools are at. We didn't do any sanding here, just got a few little light and by the way, when I say sharp tools, I would tell you a minimum of 180 grit stone, 220 or 240 on your tool grinders. So I think you can see that those two products work really well on acrylic. For those of you who turn bottle stoppers, pins, and other things out of acrylic, I think you'll find the Plastex and the scratch remover to work very well. Again, this is our first one in a series called Between Centers. This is Jim in Rock Springs, Wyoming. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, hit subscribe, like, and share. And as always, safe turning, and God bless.